John, welcome to iFilm.
Thank you.
Are you a web surfer at all?
No, but yes, I'm a web surfer. I'm horrified by the web.
Why?
Because I'm a real Luddite. I'm just lately to email, and I like email. Email's fun, but surfing the web's scary because it's this extraordinary, powerful source of misinformation. And that's kind of scary. I mean, because you look. I mean, the print media is bad enough, but when you see it on the web and you read it, it's like you read it or see it. It's like this is true, and every lunatic in the world can have their own website and say anything they fucking want. You know, so it's kind of scary.
The Blues Brothers. What's the first memory that pops up?
Gee, that's a tough one because the Blues Brothers of the movie, you mean? I guess fun. It was fun. It was hard work, but it was fun. I mean, it was a real kick for me to work with people like John Lee Hooker and Aretha Franklin and Cab Calloway, James Brown, and of course John and Danny. I love John and Danny, and it was pretty insane.
When you were writing this, did you, from the written to what the finished result was it 90%, 80%?
Well, first of all, Danny Aykroyd wrote. The Blues Brothers were created by Dan and Johnny, John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd, the characters. And then when we were going to make a movie to create a backstory, we talked about all kinds of stuff. But Aykroyd wrote the screenplay. He wrote he signed it Scriptatron 9000 or something like that. I don't know, but it was huge. It was huge, and he delivered it in the San Fernando Valley Yellow Pages.
Oh my God.
I mean, it was huge. And it was this epic, insane saga of each and every member of the band had their own movie.
Right.
And we were had to go right away and start shooting right away. And I said, Dan, the studio sort of was horrified. And I said, Danny, but this is too unwieldy. We have to make it into a narrative. So Danny said, you do it. So, okay. So that's how I became a co-writer, really. And I sort of rewrote Danny. But the real conceptions, the basic ideas are Dan's. I mean, the Bluesmobile, and if you look at Danny, I mean, he's a guy with these really outrageous concepts. If you look at Ghostbusters, and they had their Ghostbuster Mobile or whatever the hell it was called. And the Blues Brothers and the Bluesmobile, and Spies Like Us. And he's got big ideas. And in this one, the characters of Jake and Elwood were really thought out. So it was try to be true to Danny's vision and be coherent. And so the movie's semi-coherent, and I mean the whole mission from God came. It was me making fun of Danny because Danny was so passionate about this, and his whole purpose was to focus attention on this Black American music that at that moment in time when we made the picture it was all disco all the time.
Do you remember or recall any of Belushi's specific glee of being in the same room with a James Brown?
Oh my gosh, sure. No, he and Danny both were absolutely, me too, but they were delighted. I remember the recording session for Shake a Tail Feather, and they were pigs in shit. They were so happy in a recording studio with Ray Charles. I mean,
Oh my God.
And Ray he was really funny, and they had a great time. No, it was great.
Now, what about you? Does it have an effect in the casting? Somebody like James Brown as a preacher or Ray Charles in the pawn shop, does that have anything to do with you being a direct fan?
Of course. Yeah, no, the only person in the movie who we went after that we didn't get, two people really. One was when John Lee Hooker plays live on Maxwell Street, there's Pine Top Perkins and some incredible guys in that band. Muddy Waters was supposed to play with him, and Muddy got the flu and was sick. He was older, and unfortunately, with movie schedules, you can't shut everything down. And that was a great disappointment because Muddy was sick for a couple of months. And that was really heartbreaking because he wasn't in the movie. But the other one, my original choice for the preacher was Little Richard, who at the time was a preacher in Tennessee. And I flew back to meet him, and he wasn't into secular music. Thank God he's fallen away. And he's back. But he was working for Christ then.
Getting back to the Blues Brothers, the music is amazing. Did I see a young Chaka Khan in the church?
Yes, you did. And that's a funny story. Chaka was married to a friend of mine at the time, Richard Holland, and who, by the way, after years of being with Chaka, they separated and he remarried, guess who? So if your first wife is Chaka Khan, your second wife is Donna Mills.
Wow.
Anyway, so
It's so logical.
yeah. Anyway, Richard, I remember her wedding very well because that's when she was very young and hot. And she wore this gold lame bikini to her wedding. Anyway, Chaka asked to be in the movie, and I said, of course. I didn't know where to put her, really. And I said, well, you'll be in the gospel choir, James Cleveland Choir, a great choir with James Brown. And so we'd come to shoot, and I said, just do some shopping. She said, I can't. I said, what do you mean you can't? Well, I'm Baptist. No, I'm sorry. I'm Catholic. She was Catholic. It was very foreign to her. So it was interesting.
Well, she did great acting because she fit right into the scene.
We cut to her. She's in there. Well, but Joe Walsh is in the movie, too. We have a lot of bizarre cameos,
Well, the Blues Brothers legacy, it just doesn't stop. I mean, you go to the Universal Studios tour, and there's a show going on still today. I was at a bar in Los Alamitos, and they had the life-size Jake and Elwood. What has the impact been, as far as you can see, as the Blues Brothers on pop culture?
Well, first and foremost, the good news is, and I can say this with 25 years of hindsight, Danny and John's real passion was to refocus attention on this great American music, this African-American music. That was rhythm and blues. And, rhythm and blues, rhythm and blues, directed to rock and roll. I mean, it's that direct. And at that moment in time, almost all the great acts were still alive. But they weren't really being recognized or working. And so Danny and John did something interesting in show business history. They used they exploited their own celebrity to focus a spotlight on these guys. And if you talk to James Brown or any of them, they'll tell you it changed everything for them.
Well, the spotlight's one thing, but they had the talent to actually take.
Oh, no, there's no problem. No, that's
Huge.
the point.
No. Yeah.
It's just the exposure. To show Aretha, in the first movie, she's in that's Aretha Franklin. She's a national monument.
There's a whole new generation rediscovering all your titles, all Dan's, all John's. It's just resurfacing. What do you want this generation to know and feel about the Blues Brothers in 2005, 25 years later?
I just want them to enjoy it. That's all. I mean, the test of anything is time. There are a lot of really successful movies that suck, and there are a lot of really good movies that fail. It's not about box office success. Unfortunately, in the reality of show business and the media, it's only about box office success. But in fact, you can't go by the grosses. I mean, the examples I always give are the two great American classic films, It's a Wonderful Life, Frank Capra, and The Wizard of Oz, were both big failures when they came out. Big-time failures. And, I mean, It's a Wonderful Life to the point of it bankrupted and closed the company that made it. It became public domain, and it was an embarrassment for everybody. Of course, it's like one of the great American films. So you have to get perspective on stuff. So if something is really good or really has some kind of intrinsic value, it will 30 years from now. It will 40 years. Casablanca is just as good a movie now as it was then. 1939 or whatever that was, 40. It's equally enthralling. So I'm hoping with a movie like this that you enjoy it. We enjoyed making it. I mean, that sounds so obnoxious, but it's true.
Any goodies on there? Supplemental material we should know about?
Yeah, there's an amazing thing on this that for men between the ages of 20 and 60, it increases your penis size the more you watch this film.
So we should buy in volume?
No, you don't have to buy a lot of them. You just have to watch it a lot, because if you buy it, and by the way, it only works, it's the individual. You can't borrow someone's. You have to purchase it yourself.
Of course.
And by, within literally 3 weeks, you can have a cock like this. So I really think that's the best reason for men to buy it. For women, it tends to make them more slender, more voluptuous, more attractive all the way around. So it's a very beneficial thing for both boys and girls, I think.
A lot of DVDs don't have that.
No, most DVDs don't have that. Evil Dead, I think, maybe. But most DVDs don't have that. The other thing that's very good about this is that John Belushi will personally come to your house.
Well, his soul will
No,
click
John.
with yours.
No, John.
Really?
John. Yeah. John will come to your house in the middle of the night.
Nice. It's been a pleasure visiting with you.